Hey guys, it's Nerdwino. I got to sit down with IrishJohnGames today. IrishJohnGames is an incredible streamer on Twitch. He streams Gamedev, part of the amazing Gamedev community, on Twitch. He streams 6 days a week, and you can watch him developing a game called Rise of Piracy. He's been doing it for about 4.5 years, and the game has been picked up by Microprose. They're going to be the publisher. He's an incredibly successful guy. He's a great game dev. His community is awesome. I hope you enjoyed the chat we had. He talked about his life, his work. He talked about how he got into game dev and how he got into streaming. Enjoy the video and let me know what you think in the comments. Go over to that scene.
Okay.
There you go. There you are. Look at you.
Are we here? I can't see your stream.
Okay. I'm going to turn you up now as well. All right. Can you guys hear Jern now? Speak.
Hello.
Say hello to the people.
Hello,
the fans. Everyone's
everybody.
been patiently waiting with me waffling on about stuff.
Hang on. I'm trying to move my camera up a bit.
Are you? Is this like? Are you digitally moving that, or are you actually just fiddling with it?
Yeah, digitally. That's actually a good point. I could just move the camera itself.
I don't
You
know.
know, on the internet for so long, you forget things aren't digital.
It's great though. It's working. I can hear you. Chat can hear you. Chat. Do we want music in the background, or is that gonna be too loud? Hold on, let me see if we can turn the music down a bit. All right. Let me know if the music is too loud. I'm sure you will. Let me know if the music is too loud. Bit of an echo. Yeah. Hold on. I'm gonna mute Jern in there. So too loud.
You could probably no, it'll probably go out of sync if we're using it.
You're good. I can hear you now.
Discord call or
I have because I have the audio coming in from the stream together window as well.
True.
Okay. I think we should go, and that should get rid of the echo as well.
Yeah.
All right. Apparently we're good. Okay. Well, finally,
Excellent.
welcome in. Sorry for the confusion on the time zones. I am gonna.
Time zones are difficult. We can blame daylight saving times. That's
Oh,
fine.
okay. I was gonna blame you, but okay, that's fine.
Or that. Everybody
I'm
else
just kidding.
does.
Well, listen. Thanks for agreeing to come in and chat with us. It's super cool to see you. I know we got to meet back, and Barty and I were trying to decide if it was April or May, but earlier in the year we got to have a meal in Ireland and a couple of pints before we got pretty much swept out of the bar as they cleaned the floor.
I think it was the 2nd of May.
It was the 2nd of May, so it was May. Okay, that's why
so.
we were there from like the end of April into May, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was great. It was great to meet you. We even live streamed a little bit as well, actually.
We did.
We did the Jern
It's a
Pika,
highlight.
or Barty did the Jern Pika from behind the wall. I mean,
It was the best. Great crack.
yeah, super cool. So the way these things usually work, and chat, if you have questions for Irish John, let me know. You can pop them up in chat. We'll get to them when we can. But so Jern, the first thing I usually do when we do these is a little quick fire question round. It's like 15 questions.
Go for it.
And you just answer the first thing that comes into your head.
Excellent.
Are you ready? Okay, so the first question, cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Dogs. Favorite city?
Galway.
Galway. Interesting.
Ireland.
Mornings or
well, Vienna was really good as
well, come on now.
Galway.
Galway.
Yeah,
All
Galway.
right. Mornings or evenings?
Evenings.
Evenings.
Mornings don't exist for me anymore.
What would you say is the most memorable stream you ever had?
Oh, I think the one where we announced about Microprose. I think it
Microprose,
was
yeah.
back in February.
Yeah, that was
the
great.
best.
stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll talk a little bit more about that. What's your favorite sandwich?
Cajun chicken pineapple.
Oh,
Jeez.
wow.
Should I keep roulette with that?
You're going to Mars for 3 years, but you can only take one book with you. Which book are you going to take?
I don't read books. I'll take a TV show. I'll take
Which TV show?
Jeepers, frick. Just one TV show
one
forever.
TV show, Well, not forever, for 3 years, I mean.
For 3 years.
Yeah.
Definitely not The Boys. I can tell you my least favorite. No, Prisoners with. Can it be like a series of movies? So do that anyway. It's like about living on feckin' Mars anyway.
There you go.
TV shows now. I'm not mad into TV shows anyway. I watched the Mercedes Man. recently. That's really good. And season 2 was a bit hit and miss, but season 1 was great and season 3 was great. So I say Mercedes Man, or Mr. Mercedes is his name, I think.
The final answer?
It's got Brendan Gleeson. Sure, why not?
Big Gaming, by the way, says he approves of the t-shirt.
Yes, good. I want to show off some fellow.
Repping the Big Gaming.
I actually have another thing, but yeah.
Okay, peanut butter, smooth or crunchy?
I don't eat
peanut butter. That's fine. That's also. What's your favorite video game right now?
At the moment, I'm playing some Sins of a Solar Empire with an old friend, and that's great crack. But StarCraft always would be my favorite.
That is a great game.
Brood War was my bread and butter for a long time.
Those are great games.
Yeah.
What's the best programming language?
There is no best ones. They all have strengths and weaknesses.
No,
you know
that's
this.
not how this works. Pick one.
Engine wars, language wars. No, my favorite is C#, but I really like that up with GT script. I'd love to try it out for a while. I love Python as well. I hate JavaScript with a passion. Every JavaScript thing out there with a passion. React is quite good, but Vue is quite good as well. But the rest of them can back off. And SQL is class. I think SQL is really good. C# overall, I think is my favorite.
I have to say that when I didn't know SQL was called SQL for about the first 3 years when I was using it. I thought it was
one of those people called it SQL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I get most of those things. I didn't get
fire,
yeah. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Ooh, Star Trek Voyager.
Star Trek. Ooh,
actually,
Voyager.
that's my answer. Yeah, I watched a TV show, Mr. Mercedes. Actually, I watched that, right, and one of my favorite actresses from that show was in it, and I almost fainted. I was like, oh my word! I know it's not 7 and 9, just in case you're wondering. Everybody assumes that. Anyway, go ahead. It's my Tamara's, by the way.
No, you're good.
I've been meaning to watch it again.
If you could only listen to one song, what would it be?
Pass.
Pass?
I don't have a genre that I enjoy when it comes to music. Anything that just sounds good, I just listen to that. I just don't care.
So the quote for the newspapers is John does not like music? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I Kilted, Sammy, and Aaron. If I can get a compilation of that, like I have in my stream,
yeah, you have some really talented music people on your stream.
Yeah, and they've been nice enough to give me permission to use the music, so I don't get striked or anything like that. And that's class. Like, yeah.
How does that work? Do you get the strikes anyway, and then you're like, no, actually, I have the permission, or no, it doesn't even do that?
No, it's just in the case of a strike, I have that email to send on to Twitch, and they're quite nice to deal with. So, yeah.
Good. Okay, final question, and this is a community question that was sent in by a viewer. Where do you keep your TV remote?
I don't have a TV. I got rid of my TV about 10 years ago now. Actually, it dropped on the floor, and that was the end of that. I never bought a TV again afterwards. And the reason it dropped on the floor it's nothing got to do with my arse. All right, I wasn't reaching behind the TV, and my big arse didn't knock it on the floor, and that was that.
That's definitely not what happened.
LG. Yeah, it was a really, really good TV as well. I used to play Xbox and stuff on it.
Yeah.
I just gave all of that up as soon as the TV broke. It's a revelation.
It is, I mean...
Just use my computer now.
Yeah. Well, these days as well, you can get away with that pretty easily, right?
True.
But yeah, you definitely didn't knock it on the floor. Okay, got it. All right.
100% did not happen.
Okay. All right, very good. All right, yeah. So that's your quick fire questions. Thank you for participating in that silly little game.
Thanks. Sure, I'll see you again later.
Yeah.
And so.
Okay, it was a good interview. I enjoyed it.
Good.
Sorry, I'm just catching up on chat. Let's see. All right, Astro Canuck has a question for you we could get to later. Let me put the question into here so I can keep track.
There's a chat button in the stream together thing.
There's a what? Oh, we have our own little
There's a chat
here?
button in the stream together.
Oh,
we do, yeah.
No, it's not. Yeah, it's not just us. All right, I'm going to snooze the ads for a second. Let's get rid of that. Oh, yeah, that's cool. It's a really cool. They've really improved this tool a lot since since I did Astro Canuck and science streams, like we had to put the names up ourselves, and I mean I did add your logo, but the names and stuff didn't even appear. And now I think you can have up to 5 people, which is pretty amazing.
Yeah, I think it's 5 guests, plus yourself.
Oh, plus, so maybe it's 6 total. I don't know. Well, I mean, I guess you can always put yourself on stream, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so tell us about Young Jern. What did you do at school? Were you were you a nerdy kid at school? Were you a sport? Did you play a lot of sports or?
I played a lot of Gaelic football, and until I was about 12 or 13, and then I went off on holidays with my parents, and during my time away, they had won the county final, so I was so livid about that, I never went back to it properly. But after that, then I did boxing from the age of around 13, 14 till about 20, 21. And that was good. Won a few things. Got a few slaps to the head that probably shaped my brain adversely. But yeah, that's pretty much it for sporting. After that, I broke both my collarbones 1 year apart in freak accidents. And yeah, that was the end of the boxing. Couldn't do it then after that. I tried again when I was about 27. I went back to boxing 27, 28-ish. And yeah, I think I spent about like maybe 3 sessions, and the pain was agonizing. I never got it properly sorted out, you know, when I broke them.
The collarbones.
But that was that. Yeah. Gone.
And this was like amateur boxing, right? With that, you were wearing a head guard and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
Not that...
No, a few of my friends went pro and ended up, you know, being quite successful in it, but that wasn't for me. You can really get hurt in that sport. Like, it's not worth it.
Yeah, especially I think long term, right? That's the trouble.
Oh,
you don't realize when it's happening. Maybe like, I mean, I played a lot of rugby when I was younger, and you know, a lot of those guys that played international rugby are now getting into their 50s and 60s, and it's not good.
Yeah.
Not good at all. So you did all those sports. You were at school. Were you a sciencey kid at school? Like, what did you choose? What subjects did you choose? Like when you got to the higher end of school, where you actually had to pick what?
Yeah. I picked chemistry and was it woodwork or construction studies? Those were the 2 choices I had over like history and biology and all of those kind of ones. But yeah, those were my 2 choices. I hated chemistry. I absolutely despised it. My teacher was great. Everything was great. I just couldn't get the hang of it. Yeah, I actually wanted to do biology, but I was advised by my biology teacher at the time to avoid it because it's supposed to be like ridiculously difficult. But I was like, but I like that stuff, you know. But I went into I had to have a science apparently, so I took the chemistry. Didn't like it at all.
Oh, interesting.
Pets. Litmus paper. Doesn't make any sense. You know what I mean? Just changes a different color. So does tissue roll when you put it in water. It's a big deal. But yeah, you know, that kind of crack.
And so when you were at school, like when did you start messing around with game dev?
In 4th year in school, I had to make a project, like any project, and there was a bunch of different like choices that were like, you know, suggestions that we were given, and in the list of suggestions was a game, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make a game. So XNA was in its infancy at that time, and I used XNA to create a zombie shooter over the year, and it was shocking. I still have it somewhere.
Oh yeah,
but it's on one of my hard drives, but it's messed up. During my evaluation at the end of the year, there was what was it? 4 teachers, 4 lecturers. Sitting around, and I had to bring in my machine because none of the machines at the school could actually use it or could actually run the game. So I had to bring in my own machine and set it all up, and then the lads sitting behind me, and one of them was my mentor teacher who was supposed to be like teaching me this stuff during the year. He was the most absent, useless fecker. Like he taught UML, and just the most useless. Oh my word! It was shocking. and never taught me anything. Used to go off and do things in XNA, like, and tell me about it and be all proud about it. Like, okay, so how do I do? Like, I remember one of the times I went in, I was like, I'd love to put like a house from I think it was Turbo Squid was the website I was using to get some of the assets, and I had found a load of like free ones. They didn't fit together. It was complete trash. But I was like, how do I put this in the game? And he acted like offended and like kicked me out almost after a few seconds of showing me a cube on his screen. And that was that. I was right. I'm on my own, on my own with this now. And I went off and I built this thing, and it was good by the end of it. It was good enough, right? It was good enough for somebody who'd never, programmed that way or whatever. It was awful code wise and all that. I had 2 classes. And the whole game was in 2 classes, and So during the show off at the end of it, I said to them, right, I have to restart the computer now. This is how bad it was. I have to restart the computer now, and we can go back in again, because they wanted to see it again after I'd gone through the documentation. And the guy, fucking Egypt, was like, no, you can just press the rebuild button. And he did that. And what it did was, for some reason, it reset all the texture sizes.
Oh no!
And the texture sizes in early XNA had to be a multiple of 16 and divisible by 2 or something like that. Like, it was I know that doesn't make sense, but there was some list of things that it absolutely had to be, or the game wouldn't work, or the game wouldn't run, and it would complain about the texture sizes. So he did that anyway. He reached over, grabbed my mouse, and I was like, no, it's fine, it restarts quite quickly. And he's like, no, I got it. And he did that, and the game wouldn't start. And I was looking at it going, oh my word, because it took me and my father to actually work out the sizes, because he was really good at maths.
Yeah.
It took us about maybe an hour one evening going through them all, me calling out a size of a texture and him saying, oh, that should be this and that. And pain in the arse, and I'll never forgive him. And he was the worst fecker, useless, completely useless. And there was another guy that was teaching us C#, and he was more useful, even though the mentor was supposed to be, the good guy. But the C# teacher there was brilliant. But there you go.
So you said 4th year. How old would you have been? What would that be equivalent
to? 20, 21 ish.
So it was in college. You was in
started
college
early. Yeah, college 4th year. Yeah.
And did you play games before that when you were young?
Oh yeah. Playing games since I was a child. Yeah, I used to love going up to friends' houses that had Xboxes or not Xboxes at the time. It was like Super Nintendo or PlayStation 1 or any of those. Like, used to love that, just because we didn't have any of that stuff at the house. And first computer we had was an Amstrad. And that had Bubble Bobble on it, and I used to play that with one of my sisters. We used to love it, but she hated playing it. She only ever played it once in a blue moon. So I loved that, but it was no PlayStation. And and my sister was a programmer as well. She did COBOL, and I used to watch her doing COBOL, and it was fucking dead. She was one of the only people able to do it in our area, and it was class. And there you go. That's probably what kind of seeded it in the beginning.
In the beginning. All right. Yeah. So you obviously had some experience leaving, a little bit of game dev experience leaving college. What were you studying? Were you studying computer science at college specifically? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like split into a bunch of different modules, but there was 3 of those modules where I got to do it, programming and that kind of crack.
And was game dev the dream, or you just knew you wanted to work with computers and do like programming of some sort?
There was no opportunity in those days to do game dev in college. There was one place, I think it was up in Derry, and that's just in Northern Ireland there, like right at the tip of at very, very far north. I think that was the only place that would do it. So my choices for going to college were around woodwork or technical drawing or programming. Like, there was no game dev choices. So I had to learn all that myself. But I always wanted to be a game dev, like since I was a kid. Like, I wanted to make them, create them, mess around with them. yeah, there was no opportunity.
Yeah. And so when you finished college, did were there opportunities for jobs in game dev at that point, or not really? What was your job coming out of college?
Didn't even look. I got a. Everybody out of my course was kind of straight away hit by people
Oh, really?
offering us jobs. Yeah, it was silly, honestly, and they were all paying us awful wages, and just everybody was kind of used up right after college. Some people even stayed in the college, like doing other stuff, to kind of avoid it, I think. But yeah, my first job out of it was a fleet tracking piece of software. It was awful. It was using .NET Compact, and it was using SQL Compact, and they were super limited. So I had to use there was this big brick of not iPad, what you call them, like just a brick of a thing, like a phone almost.
Yeah.
Had the GSM and all that, but I had to use that with VBA desktop application, so synchronizing things between the two. That's basically all it did. There was this guy had a history of hiring people right out of college, getting them to do a little bit of work, firing them, and that's basically, like, you could see it. All the different names in the code. It was abysmal. Yeah, abysmal. After that, then I got a really good job in a place that was massive corporation, and they were working for an American group. And from there, I got a real mentor, and I knew what that was then. Like a guy called
You
Tony,
can tell, right?
and he was, Tony was amazing. Like, this guy taught me everything I knew at the time about JavaScript, C#. There was a guy called Dave, my team lead. He was fucking awesome guy, and loved working with them. They taught me everything I knew about code, and there was no game dev like in my brain at all at that point. Like, I would have loved to switch into it, but because I needed to up my like, when you're in web dev, you kind of always have to be learning the next thing that's coming along,
right.
or there's too much to learn. Honestly, it's crazy. So at that stage, it wasn't that bad. I was doing jQuery, SQL, and C# MVC, and that was great. Like, and my mentor was amazing. And that lasted for 3 years. And then I moved away, got another job, and then four and a half years ago, I finally was like, right, I'm going to do game dev now.
So you did. So the transition into game dev. Did you already have the idea for Rise of Piracy, or you just knew you wanted to develop a game, or?
Yeah. When I was a kid, one of my favorite games, I used to go up to a friend of mine, and we used to play on his brother's laptop. We used to play a game called Cutthroat's Terror on the High Seas. And if you were to look at the way that it's played, or some of the mechanics in it are almost identical. They're identical to Mount and Blade as well. The same mechanic there, where a campaign map is where you gather your troops. So not like a traditional RTS where you build troops out of barracks or out of a tank place or whatever. You instead will gather them elsewhere and take them into battles, and then they persist through the levels. Thought that was just class.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, and pirates. I mean, who doesn't like pirate ships and all of the cannons roaring, and that kind of atmosphere is brilliant. And then just, I don't know, just the bunch of different games back then, like, was Anno, there was Pirates, there was what you call it? There was an Age of Sail game back then as well, where you'd actually float around and shoot stuff. It was completely different, but that was good crack as well. And Assassin's Creed, of course. Assassin's Creed 3, I think, was brilliant. It did the ship-to-ship combat really, really well.
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed Black Flag and all of those. But yeah, the idea was always there, and I used to note down things that I would do. So the actual, when I decided I actually wanted to do it, was probably mid through the contracting phase. So after that job I just told you about, after that I went into contracting, and I did, I'd say, 5 or 6 jobs since then, and some of them were absolute god awful. Like, people don't if you're in a company doing IT and you need contractors, things are not going well. So that's basically what happened.
And so were those contract jobs through like an agency, or no? You would just see ads, or
Yeah, I was with an agency in Dublin, and they used to just, like, anytime I was out of a job, I would instantly walk into another one. It was great, and they were really well paying and all of that kind of crack. And sure, I was just stupid as feck with all of it, and yeah, it was really easy to get jobs as well. Like, I don't only ever need like a month, maybe two, sometimes if it was bad, to get a new one. So the contracting was great, but there was no job security with it, and you know, you can't like get a mortgage if you're on contract jobs or anything like that. So you do lose a lot of benefits, but it was great in fairness. Yeah, it was grand. Didn't last very long. Thankfully, my last job there was shocking. Like, so yeah,
you just, the last job really was the nail in the coffin. You were like, I got it.
Absolutely. It was the second job that ended badly, and the first one was a good 8 or 9 years ago. There was I was in a company that was working with some really sketchy places, and they weren't doing well, and it was littered with nepotism. Like, everybody at the top was either a wife, a brother, or sister of the two main guys, and like it trickled downwards something serious. Everything was just terrible, and there was no quality control. Everything was rushed. They were forcing the thing out of me, and as soon as I got it done, then they were, okay, bye-bye, that's it. And it was like, okay, but you're going to need to, you're going to need a bit more time on it. But they wouldn't listen to me. But I was out the door. I didn't give a shit. But yeah, they messed around with money as well and stuff like that. Like, they didn't pay, and like, there was really like sketchy stuff going on. So I got out of that job and gave out to the guy that got me it a little bit. And then I jumped into one of the best jobs I had. So I had two ridiculously good jobs, and the second one was brilliant. I learned an awful lot about. We were doing MQQT and all of these like really cool analytics things, from routers to sensors and all of that kind of stuff, would be flooding data our way, and we'd have to like visualize it and change it and mess with stuff. It was really, really cool, and there was some awesome clients, and I loved it there. And they got shut down by their corporate head or whatever. He just came over one day and he was like, yeah, so we're getting rid of this area, and we'll talk to you about blah blah blah. And like, everybody got severance packages, which was lovely, except for the contractors, like myself and one other lad, and we were just left out to dry in that way.
Nice.
Yeah. So after that, then I jumped into the worst job I ever had, which was the most recent one. That was that.
And then once you decided, obviously, you were gonna develop Rise of Piracy. Have you been streaming that since like day one? And how did you decide to start streaming? What made you decide to start streaming the dev?
So about during the time in the best job I ever had, I was doing a few tutorials and stuff, just looking around to see what's Unity like. It does C#. Maybe I'll be able to use it, because up until then, I didn't really have much exposure to things outside of my skill set.
Sure. So
it was it wasn't something that I could just jump into. You know what I mean? So after that job that I had, the good one, I had exposure to Python and Linux stuff and loads of other like stuff that I'd never have been able to do before. And also like the way that things were going with the async and all of that kind of crack. Like, when you're doing contracting for a long time, you end up working on really old code and really old stuff over and over until like it's really bad that way. It gets you into a place where you could, like, if you continue it, you'll become unhireable, because you just don't get to work on any of the new stuff, and everybody else will just move on. So I was doing the tutorials back then, and then a couple of years later, like, I didn't do anything with it. after the job announced that they were coming to a close, I did a proper tutorial from a guy called Stormtech on GitHub, and that was an RTS game tutorial, and it was incomplete, but it gave me a really nice look at how things work in Unity, and I was like, jeepers, yeah, this is pretty cool. I might be able to do this, even though the maths and the physics were daunting, because I've never had good luck with maths or anything like that. But yeah, after I got through that tutorial, I had a build of the game. I still have it somewhere, but it was shocking. You could have around 15, I think it was 15 ships, sailing around, no buoyancy, no nothing, just like driving around like a car, and firing 8 cannons each at their at each other. So there was factions and stuff like that. It was working quite well, but after about, I don't know, 20 seconds, it would lag. It would lag to no end. So I decided to scrap that. And then one day I was like, jeepers, I wonder if there's anybody actually streaming Gamedev. That would be really interesting. And then boom, I found like all this stuff on Twitch. I was like, oh, nice, good stuff. And I met a guy called Syed Aman. He was doing Unreal. He was making an RTS called North Weapon. And I jumped into his stream and I started a new copy of the game. Or well, the first copy, really. I don't count the other thing as a copy. I don't even really count the first thing as a copy, because, you know, it was like the first job I did was I was trying to tile the water material, but not by just expanding the size of the plane and changing the tiling value. I was making a grid in code, and I was putting one tile on every grid square. And that that was the first job. That's what I thought I needed to do. So I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But I went into Syed Aman's chat, and one of the days he had an if statement and a for statement in C++. And I was looking at it, and I was like, I know what's wrong with that. And I typed to him, try this, and he was like, oh, that's the thing. And he fixed his code. He was like, oh, thanks so much. And I was like, nice. I should start streaming this, because you know, people who know what's going on will be able to help out sometime. And I started then about 5 years ago now, and that was version 1. My first ever stream was 18 hours long.
Holy shit, really?
Was in my element. Oh, back then I had no off button. I was really enjoying it. Like,
that's great.
Just trying to figure it all out. Yeah. There you go.
And it was Rise of Piracy from the start?
Yes, it was a boat and tiling of the ocean material. Well, the ocean squares. And it had always been Rise of Piracy. And after I started, I used to not really joke, but people would come in and say, "Oh, how do you get started?" And I used to say, like, "Oh, bring a notebook to bed, because your brain doesn't shut the fuck up ever, and especially not when you're trying to fucking sleep. You'll think of everything right before sleep. So bring a notebook to bed, and you know, if you have the Wi-Fi or whatever, like, just say, you know what, this is it'll end up being good someday, I think." So yeah, there you go. You go up to like, a lot of my notes are either written on top of other notes or like written at a really weird angle, and yeah, it's because I was doing it in the dark, just like as I'm going to sleep some evening. And I have a notebook of, like, I have about 3 or 4 notebooks just of, like, right, so how would I make the cannons fire randomly? Like, I'd have like bits of scrap on that one, like fire, like get an array of them, and then, you know, pick out each one and what I'd need for all of those things. And then later on, the notes became less technical and more abstract, like ensure that your crew can be paid or something like that. And you know, like, a load of that kind of, the granularity was lost then later on, and I started using notebooks and stuff like that, or notepads in on the machine, like, so I've a bunch of files now that I work from Sublime, and that's how that goes.
Interesting. So what would you say has been the biggest challenge with developing Rob? Has it been like software related? Has it been like eating bread and water?
So up until last year, I was contracting at the same time as working on it.
Oh,
So
okay.
I'd contract in the morning, and then in the evening, if I was up to it, I would stream a bit and I'd do a bit of game dev, or I'd just do a little bit after work, and that would be that. But yeah, it was really difficult at the start. My streams were like one or two a week, and for months then I might just go and come back then later on, and that was kind of unfair to the people that were following me. I know, like, I streamed to one person for I think a month, and then it went to like three then, and I was really trying to hit the three then for the second month, and to get the affiliate thing,
Oh,
and
yeah,
I was like all chuffed then when I got the affiliate thing, because game dev back then was its own category. And I know there was, like, last year there was a push to get a category for game, but it used to be a category back in 2017, 2018. And back then we had like maybe 30, 40 odd people that would frequent the channel, or the category, so there was like nobody on anybody's streams, and we all kind of just knew each other and chatted away to each other and all that kind of crack. What was the question?
Sorry. The biggest challenge. The biggest challenge.
The challenge, yeah. The challenge was switching from web dev to game dev is very difficult, mainly because the way that it, like, in web dev especially, you're making a request and you're waiting for a response, and when the response comes back, you do something with it. And it's changed, like, nowadays it's all async request response, and they're all, like, it's all very, very nicely laid out. And then you go to Unity and it's like, right, so this update statement will run every single frame, and you can have multiple of those across your entire game. And then there's like a workflow of each frame of the game. There's like I have a link for it on my own channel, but there's like a on enable, awake, start, on animator, IK, start, on animator. There's loads of these things that come into it, and to even get to that point where you know that you need to learn that was a challenge for me. I didn't realize what was going on, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I was writing these mad functions inside of update that would kill your machine. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
So there was that going on. Yeah. You have a lot more leeway in the web dev stuff. You don't have to worry too much about it.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. What do you enjoy most? What would you say? When do you get a kick? Like, I know sometimes people, it's the debugging, so finding a bug that's been bothering you, and it's like that feeling of like, finally. Or what's the biggest kick you get from software? Or is it sharing it with other people? Or?
Yeah, sharing it and meeting people has definitely been the highlight of the whole thing for me. Like, one of the biggest questions, like, up until last year was, oh, what about success and all of that? Like, how do you measure it and all this kind of crack? Like, and to me, like, the whole thing has already been successful because of the people I've met and the things I've learned, and all of that kind of crack. And that was before publisher and all of that other stuff. It was the thing that gives me the greatest kick now is very different to the start. The start, it was all, we'll get a cannon to shoot a cannonball at a wall in the distance. And I remember it still, like, it was a big red wall, and I was able to hit the wall with the cannon. And, that was like, oh, deadly, that's working now, class, moving on to the next bit. And it was a lot like that for a long time. And then it came to the multiplayer stuff and getting into a game and shooting cannons at each other. That was class. Remember, Fresh Meat jumped in, and I kicked his ass. Obviously, I didn't really.
Obviously.
Like, I definitely didn't lose with my own game. I definitely didn't lose the first ever multiplayer game. Oh man, I'll never live that down. But yeah, just being able to jump in with friends that I've met along the way and play the game with them was another massive deadly kind of moment. Nowadays, it's a lot about, like, refactoring for me now, and polishing and cleaning and getting it to a stage where people will enjoy playing it. So whenever I get something that's been annoying me for a long time, whenever I get that working, or get rid of a bug that makes it very difficult to play or annoying to work with, when I get to that, that's when I'm happiest. Like the last day, we got 3 fairly major things that make the game feel much better to play, and that was a great feeling getting that done.
Yeah, that makes sense. So speaking of success, so you have Microprose as a publisher for the game. How does that come about? How does that work? Do you approach them? Do they approach you? Do you have like an agency that you work with that's trying to find a publisher for your game? Tell us a little bit about that, and congratulations, by the way, as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So back in 2021, around November, I think it was December, I put the game up on Steam without a trailer, without much of anything, and it wasn't ready to go up on Steam, so I kind of regretted it instantly, and got a few hundred people wishlisting and all of that kind of crack. It was nice for the first wee while, and pretty much instantly I was getting contacted by not just publishers, but like kind of smaller marketing groups and stuff like that, and they would just pop into the email and type something in like, oh, check this out, this is who we've worked with, this is what we've done for them. And a lot of them had like a PDF brochure, and a lot of them were dodgy. Like right from the get-go, you could read the email and go, yeah, I'm not even going to respond to this one. So they would hound you as well if you don't respond to them. A lot of them will send up to 5 or 6 emails, so it's probably bots, a lot of them as well. So there was about 30-40 of those 2022. All right, and I spoke to maybe about 5 of them, and it was all the same kind of stuff, all asking for crazy amounts of percentages, and they all want a piece of whatever you're building for very little. In my opinion, anyway, very little. They would market the game on a social media platform or something like that, and they were asking for extraordinary amounts of everything. So that kind of happened anyway for 2022. Wasn't happy with any of them. I was still working. In August, the job went away. I was, after 3 months after I quit, they kept me there, and finally I was free of them, bastards. in August, really awful company. I got messages actually a couple of nights ago on stream from some of the guys that I worked with back then. They're keeping tabs on them, right? So they've finally gone bust, it seems, or at least like some of their operation has gone bust, which is great to see. Honestly, I wish them nothing but the worst. They were the worst people. But I've talked about that before, and you really shouldn't be chatting about other companies and stuff like that. But I'm never going to give their name or anything like that. They'll never know. But they were working anyway. What you call it? After that, couple of people did reach out last year. There was a couple of times when I got a massive blast of wish lists as well, and the wish lists were really good. I was obviously showing up on a few more people's radars, and I was getting more and more of these people contacting me. And then at the start of this year, someone reached out from a large publisher that I had already seen a lot of work from. They're relatively new, and I won't name them, but they were decent. Yeah, they were fine. But what they were offering and what they were taking was pretty major. So went back and forth with them the entirety of January, and during that I was reaching out to people in my own community that I've met. Absolutely awesome people, and honestly, I'll never forget it. Like, you helped out so much. You know who you are. But yeah, I was speaking to them at the same time. They were giving me questions to ask, things to look out for.
Oh, yeah.
Like even just talking points. Like, if I was like in a bit of a rut, like of, geez, he's after saying this now. What does this even mean? Like, and I just send that on, and straight away, like, loads of information, just really like readily available. And they were just so sharing and nice about it. and I'll not forget that. Now that was a massive help. So that went on for about a month, and it was kind of quaky. It was like, okay, at the start they definitely want something to do with the project, and then at the end they kind of were like, I don't know, when push came to shove, and I was asking the questions about, like, this is a bit much, or that's no, I don't know about that. When that started happening, they lost interest. So they obviously wanted this very subservient client, and I wasn't going to be that. So yeah, that happened after a lot of wish lists and the trailers from Drown 21. He made some absolutely glorious trailers back in 2022.
Yeah, they're really
and
good.
they helped out a lot. Yeah, I marketed, or I pushed them fucking everywhere as well. Like, it was great. And a lot of stuff came in from that. YouTubers even picked up the trailer and went with that, and that gave a massive boost as well. Some really good YouTubers. And yeah, so after that deal fell through, which honestly I don't think I would have went for anyway, even if it was, like, cleaned up the way I wanted it. It wasn't enough. They were just offering, they were basically offering a bit of pay to get me started, or to sustain me for the year, and a little bit of marketing is what they were offering, basically, for a crazy amount, like percentage wise of revenue and all of that kind of crack. So I was like, no thanks. And then somebody had mentioned during the interactions with them over that from the community, somebody had mentioned microprose, and I was like, jeepers, not a fucking hope. Like, that's that's a gigantic fucking name in my mind. Like, I grew up playing their games, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
not
for sure.
a hope. So yeah, after that deal fell through, I was like, fuck, what do I have to lose? And I'll send it in. Within 4 hours, I had a response from them, very excited, wanting to chat. The next day, we hopped on a call, and within, I think it was 4 or 5 days, we were signing a deal together. They were awesome, and they were really excited to work with it. And they were just bringing up, like, really nice points as we were chatting. Completely different vibe to the previous one. You have to go with your gut with these people. Like, it's yeah, it was just mad, like, chatting away to the people from Microprose, like, just surreal.
That's awesome.
And then when eventually when we got it, like, sorted out, like, it was, yeah, I couldn't believe it. Still can't believe
it. It's huge. Yeah, it's huge. Well, you deserve it, though. I mean, you've been working hard, and it's an awesome game. So, I mean, it's not. It doesn't surprise me, but it is awesome. And it's always nice to work with nice people as well. It makes a big difference.
Yeah.
That all of these relationships need to be like, it's a two-way street, right? So it's not like just take, which I think is what a lot of these people are just. They just spam out these things, and they hope that they they kind of they spray shot it, and then they hope they get one success out of the.
Exactly. Yeah.
They just
a lot of that going on.
Chew everybody else up. Let me see. So Astro Canuck just landed for like a bazillion points. I'm trying to do the gift sub. Yeah, 98 point. I forgot what it was now, but it was over 98. So we need to.
Wow.
I need to do a gift.
Have you gotten any hundreds? Belin's got 100 on my channel.
There's been 100.0 on my channel, and this might sound rigged, but it was actually me.
Sure thing.
For some reason, this isn't working. But yeah, Shark, I will get your gift sub. I don't know why it's not working. I can't do the checkout thing. But I'll keep working on it. So just to sort of finish the Rise of Piracy theme, pretty much. So the game is in development. At some point you're going to publish it. What does life look like after Rise of Piracy for John?
I think I'll be maintaining it for, I don't know. It depends on how well it's received. If it's received really well, I'll maintain it for years and years. But I'd really like to add a lot of the stuff that I've kind of parked. I'd really like to bring in a lot more fun elements, like for currently, like, after the game has kind of been complete from a vanilla standpoint, there is late game content that can challenge people that are like, that have a crazy good fleet. So there's more stuff that I want to do with that. I want to improve on it. You know what I mean? Like, and if it's doing really well, or if it does well at all, like I'll just be maintaining that for years, and I'm not going anywhere. I know those people say like, oh, as soon as it comes out now you're gonna feck off for a while, but I won't be doing that unless I'm getting an extreme amount of abuse or something on the stream. I would never stop, but yeah, the plan is to just keep going with it, and hopefully get some things sorted out in life that I've kind of parked for a while, and just keep it at.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we look forward to that. I mean, it's been so fun. I've only caught Moko Maid. Welcome in, guys. Thanks for all the biddies and the subs. It's been fun to follow. I don't know how long. Like 18 months maybe or so. I think I'm up to. But yeah, it's been really fun. I wish I had been here from the beginning. But yeah. So, what do you think for games? No, you're plugged into the game dev community, and you play a lot of games, I know, and try and get me to buy most of them. If you had a crystal ball, what do you think is going to be the biggest change or disruption in game dev in like the next year or two?
Jeepers. I think oh man, I don't know. I think something's got to give with the DLC spam that's going on at the moment. I think that's gonna start coming down probably. I don't know. There's a lot of like bad quality games out there. I think the quality will start being under more scrutiny. I don't think it's going to be as easy to spam them out as it was in the past, but I don't know, could be completely wrong about that. I think there's going to be much, like, as the tools get better, the products get better, I think. So hopefully now Unity just takes a wee bit of a, not a right angle, but definitely a 20 to 30 degree angle, and just starts like focusing on something and improving on it instead of trying to compete with absolutely everybody. It's its own thing, you know what I mean? But yeah, so I think it'll just be more of the same, honestly. I don't think much is going to change. I know the AI stuff that's going on at the moment is a bit daunting, but I don't think it'll have much impact on the games. Maybe it will. It makes creation of certain things easier, for sure. But I don't know. It needs to all be regulated, obviously. I've had chats about that before as well. But yeah, maybe AI probably would be the most impactful thing at the moment. Unfortunately, it's just done badly, but it's incredibly powerful when used correctly.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah, interesting. All right, well, thanks for that. What would you say? So you have been streaming for a good while now, right? What would you say were the biggest challenges when you started streaming? What do you think are the biggest challenges for new streamers? And what would be, like, if you could go back and give yourself one piece of advice, what piece of advice would you give yourself when you started streaming? Knowing what you know now.
It's a difficult one. Try not to take things personally. Keep it cool. ABC, always be cool.
Sometimes
I think the most difficult thing. Yeah. Oh, jeepers. Yeah. One of the most difficult things, I think, is building the community around it and keeping them engaged. Especially in game dev, it's like every stream is going to be pretty much the same. So how do you keep that interesting? I think if I branched it differently, maybe mixed up the content a little bit, that maybe the streaming would have kicked off a wee bit. But I think it's mostly just it's all the same with game dev. There's not much you can do with it. So piece of advice would be just chill out, man. Just decide on your goals and your expectations right at the get-go. Don't especially in game dev, don't expect too much, because the pool of people is quite small, and I don't know, honestly. It's like streaming for me is just a way to chat with people and keep me company during the development process, and it's been deadly, meeting all the people and having friends like that I never would have met before. So like growing up, like there was maybe 2 or 3 people I've ever met in real life that would be into game dev stuff. Whereas on the Twitch thing, it's like it's just everyone's into it, so it's great.
Yeah.
And that's what the main goal is for me. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm happy with the way things are in there, and in terms of advice, just enjoy it, because it's just awesome, and kick feckin' smellies out instantly, and don't engage with trolls.
Yeah, well,
Take
I mean,
nothing
part of
serious.
game dev is growing as well, right? I mean, there's definitely more interest than there was, and a lot of it is thanks to people like you who are really pushing the content and developing awesome games. And the Jern Jam, as somebody Entropic just said, I mean, that's a big thing. How was this year's Jern Jam compared to last year's Jern Jam?
It was very similar, but I feel like a bit more fun, honestly. I think people had more fun with it, whereas last year it was very serious and very, head down, nobody talking to each other. I think this year there was a lot more engagement between people, and a lot more chatting, and a lot more crack,
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great. The quality of the games that came out of it were phenomenal. One of them has even gone on to become a a board game. So somebody's making a board game out of the winner. So there you go. The Captain Coder blowing us away again. So that's going on, and looking forward to next year. The prizes were brilliant this year. The prizes were much better this year than last year. I feel like we had a lot more big chunky things to give than last year, but it could be wrong about that, honestly. I know we got a lot of chonkers last year, but this time we had a more diverse range of chonkers. And yeah, we managed to give prizes to everybody who participated.
Well, that's awesome.
Which was great as well.
Because you had a lot of entries as well this year, right?
24, I think. Yeah, with 3 disqualifications. Trying their best. They're trying their best.
People can't meet deadlines.
And they can't feckin' cheat anyway.
Yeah, I was just going back to something you said about the streaming as well. I think one of the challenges, like for game dev or something where you're actually trying to get something done. Like, I don't stream to get anything done, right? I don't have a product that I'm trying to put out, but to some extent, the more entertaining you try and make the stream, and the more other stuff you add in, the less work you get done, right? In that 4 hour chunk. And I know you work on the game outside of streams as well, but
yeah, absolutely. Just on Saturday last, actually, I was working on something that was racking my brain so much that I had to stop and do it off stream. And I took a break for a few hours, played a few games with some of my mates, and then came back and got it sorted within an hour. And it was taking like too much time on stream, and that kind of struggle as well. Like, if you don't have something to switch into, there's no point, because you're just staring blankly at a screen. So getting used to that as well during the few years has been a bit of a challenge also. But yeah, it's grand.
Yeah. You recommend it?
Streaming creation, I think so. Yeah. I think you get a lot of people involved, and you get opinions right away as well. You get help. And you make friends with people that are into the same thing as you, just from putting yourself out there. I think the benefits are brilliant. In terms of losing out on productivity, anything mad difficult you shouldn't be doing on stream anyway. Stuff like audio as well, where you can't engage with your chat. Like, whenever I'm streaming, it's at the end of my workday. So I used to play games and then stream, and then continue the work after the stream after that, but that flipped from last year. Now I just work on it for a few hours beforehand, get the stream done then, so I'm more relaxed by the end of the day. You don't go full throttle all day every day, or you'll just burn out. So it's like, as long as you can have a bit of crack with it, if everybody's laughing and having a good time, then it doesn't feel like work,
Yeah, for sure. Well, you have a great community as well, so that helps a lot. You've built. I mean, you're responsible for a lot of that.
They're the best. They're the best thing about the stream. 100%.
Yeah,
they're what make it. Yeah.
Moko Mate said they definitely don't know anything about being a business and getting nothing done on stream. That's funny, Moko. Welcome in, Moko, and guys, thanks for that hype train there as well. By the way, sorry, it's been a little difficult to interact with you guys, but I'm watching chat and I'm keeping tabs on you guys. But sorry, so the interactivity hasn't been that great. But so we did have one question. Astra Canuck said, "What's one part of game dev you really like to do, but you can't do it until all the tedious tasks are done first? But sometimes you cheat and skip ahead to it anyway."
Good question.
And if if other people have questions, you can throw them up in chat, and we'll do a little Q&A with John before we let him go and get to work.
So skipping ahead, right? So last year and the year before, level design was something that I would do whenever the work day was too much, and that happened a lot in that job. It was the worst job ever. And because of that, I used to just be too exhausted to do anything on stream. So I used to just boot up a terrain and start placing things on the terrain and just making it look pretty and all that kind of crack. And that's something that didn't need to be done, but because I was so tired, I wouldn't have been able to look at the bugs in the AI or bugs with gameplay or UI. Geez, those things are exhausting to do. Luckily in game dev, it's not like a linear path that you get to the end with. You can always branch off and work on multiple things at the same time and then improve upon them later on. It's all about iteration. So jumping into the campaign map and doing something last week and this week, and then jumping into the battle map, completely different sets of gameplay and mechanics, and just like bouncing between them. Honestly, there's just so much to work on now that there's just not enough hours in the day, But yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's definitely a cheap path that I used in the past. Just do a level. Don't bother with anything else. Do a level. I have 120 flipping levels in there now.
Is that right?
To be
Holy
redone. Yeah, all handmade islands that you can capture. There's background islands as well that you can engage in fleet-to-fleet combat in, but I don't really count that.
Oh, nice. Some people have suggested that maybe Rise of Piracy in space might be cool as well.
Rise of Space Piracy?
Exactly.
I love sci-fi stuff. Absolutely adore it. I love it. Love it to bits. I'm even watching a show now. I intend to finish it, but it's one of the worst piles of rubbish I've ever watched, and I've watched worse, honestly. As long as it's in space, as long as there's some space related stuff in it, as long as there's a monster or an alien in it, I'm happy out. I'll watch that shite, no problem, and I'll rate it quite highly. Whereas other kind of shows, I struggle to watch. Like I've watched The Boys and Gen V as well. There's very little on Prime Video that's worth actually sitting down and watching. Like, it's a shit ton of B stuff on it, but I watched those because they were sci-fi, and I regret every second wasted watching those shows. And I know some people absolutely love them, but there's bits in it that make me question the sanity of the guy writing the flipping thing, why on earth you would ever conceptualize these scenes. Why are you making me watch this? I just want to see Homelander flying around, please. That's all I want to see in this show. I don't want to see this little guy going in there. No, don't do it. What are you doing? That kind of stuff, nah, not for me. But other sci-fi, brilliant. Love it. Space stuff, yeah, 100%.
The Expanse. Fan of The Expanse?
Yes, one of my favorite shows ever.
Very good. Yeah.
Right up there. Top 5, definitely. There is a season 7 in book form, if you're into it.
Is that right?
If you were disappointed. Yeah, absolutely. I won't give any spoilers, but there's certain things that happen in the last season.
So, spoiler, I haven't seen the last season.
That's okay. Yeah. No, there's certain things that exist later on. That's all.
Nice.
Like it's just I don't know. The last season is great though. You should check it. Well, it's great.
Yeah.
All of it's great. The start to the finish to that show was brilliant. The storyline, Avasarala, Amos, all of the characters. Yeah. Avasarala is just incredible. Yeah, just one of the best. But all of it was class. Loved it.
All right, so we have some more questions in chat here. To start, Big Gamey says some people have bears on their stream. Have you ever considered it?
You know, I've always thought, just talking about sci-fi, wouldn't it be great if bears were real? Then we could definitely probably talk about that kind of stuff. But I don't know if we can bring in, like, we may as well bring in Sasquatch.
Yeah, or like a parrot or something as well. I mean,
well, I do have a dinosaur on my stream. Yeah, he shows up every now and again. I have him here.
Let's see.
There he is.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Birdie.
There's Macaulay making a. Do you have anything you want to say to them? No.
Entropic Universe wants to know what's your preferred text editor, if you use one.
Oh, Sublime.
Sublime. There you go, Entropic.
IDE Visual Studio.
Visual Studio.
Visual Studio IDE,
yeah.
and Sublime Text. Yeah, I like Sublime. I think it's cool. Notepad++ as well, but haven't used it in a long time.
One line says, do you ever feel there are times when you want to scrap entire parts of your implementation and start over from scratch? Does that happen in game dev as often as application dev?
What do you think? Why do you think we're on iteration 3? Why do you think we're on iteration 3, one line? The first iteration was terrible. It was me coming from web dev into game dev. I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I made the most awful crap ever imaginable. Iteration 2, I was using Photon for multiplayer, and I built pretty much the whole game, and ended up not being happy with its performance. And it just didn't have everything I wanted it to have, and it had lots of limitations, including being built with Photon. So scrap that completely. All right, I didn't take any. Well, I took stuff, and then I'd put it side by side with another class, and I'd take little pieces of it, and I'd delete the rest of it, and it felt great doing that. That was like the major part of the turnaround. And yeah, we had played games where, like, me and 3 other people in co-op invading an island together. You know what I mean? Like, it was really far along. It was really advanced in that way. But yeah, I scrapped that, instantly started iteration 3, which is the current iteration. And the first thing we did was I had 3,000 troops and 200 ships in the water killing each other on my old potato machine, and it was running at 60 frames. And that kind of level of stuff made it all worthwhile. The whole, like, I almost didn't bother with Rise of Piracy after the Photon version was thrown in the bin. I almost gave up, and I was like, I'll make this sci-fi game now, because I'd love to make something in space. I'd absolutely adore to make a space game. I know I've made like IBR, Space Battle Sandbox on the itch, and that other one where you're running around a spaceship, the boarding party one that we did for JohnGames.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, that's definitely where the passion would be for our next game. But Rise of Piracy almost died that day. I was broken about it. But it's fine now, you know. It's back to past where it was in some aspects, and still behind where it was in other aspects, which is interesting. But
have you ever, so just talking about that kind of stuff, have you ever accidentally deleted a bunch of crap or committed over the top?
Oh yeah.
I mean, we've all done it.
Oh yeah. I think everybody in any kind of dev work has lost work, including one of the worst I've heard in recent times was Finite actually lost like 2 years work, 2 years worth of work, and only was able to recover some of it. So there's stuff like that, definitely. I'm a big believer in, if you're not using source control, then you're in for a bad time. So, you know, yeah, just if you want help with source control stuff, just, you know, let me know. We can do like a video on it or something. But yeah, GitHub desktop especially nowadays is brilliant. It takes all the need for command lines and all of that kind of stuff out of it. It's 2 or 3 buttons every day, and everything is safe on the cloud. And it's very hard to overwrite that stuff unless you go back into the command line stuff and you do like rebasing or that kind of crack. But for the most part, yeah.
It was only the command line, and you could do a lot of damage very quickly.
Yeah. In one of my old jobs, one of the lads rang me up and said, after overwriting the history file on master, I was like, you're messing. He goes like, do you have a local copy of the repo? And I was like, not for like at least a week. So we went through everybody, and somebody had taken a pull like earlier that day, and everything was fine. But yeah, you could easily just lose everything so easily, especially if you're doing crazy stuff like rewriting some history files, crazy crack like that.
So yeah, if you want to learn more about Finite's experience with that, tune in next week because I'm going to have Finite on it next week. Actually, doing a sit down.
Oh, nice! Oh, yeah. Brilliant, good stuff. That'll be fun.
Aaron Music Productions has said very well.
Hello, Aaron.
I think we all think. He says, "I'm here, John. I'm so incredibly proud of you for the work you've done. I'm so happy that you've gotten the absolute game dev dream a publisher."
Thank you so much, Aaron.
I think we could all.
We actually play some of Aaron's music on our stream as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. Were there other questions? Hold on, I got a little. Oh, so Beer to TV. So, would you like a quick dad joke? Why did Java programmers wear glasses?
Because they can't see sharp.
There you go. You see, dad material right there. Primo Pet. So we'll get to a couple of these guys. I don't want to hold John up for too long. I don't know if you have a time constraint, John, but I know it's been like.
No. I was supposed to be starting 10 minutes ago, actually. So
well, lovely. Okay, so a nerd can't tell time. We know this. I'm gonna get like the clocks on the wall, you know, where they have like all the different, like on the trading floor where they have the.
It's the daylight. Yeah, daylight.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's the daylight. Yeah, it's not my fault. It's daylight savings time. Fuck me up. That's.
It's only about 80% your fault.
It's very generous of you to take the 20%. Or were you blaming that on daylight savings time?
Daylight savings time.
Let me see. Primo Pet says, do you have the entire game concept outlined before you start coding, or you build ideas along the way?
Yeah, you just build as you go. Some stuff is completely different to how it's written down. I don't know about game development documents and all of that kind of stuff. It's great in web dev. It has its place in software, but in game dev, you don't know how fun your game is going to be until you build a certain thing and prototype a lot. Even like features in your game, you can just take them into a separate project, prototype them up, and throw them in later on. I do that a lot, actually. Maybe 4 or 5 times this year now. I've jumped into a completely different project and built an entire mechanic and then brought it in later on after seeing whether or not it'll work, or if it's fun, or if it serves the purpose correctly. So there's a lot of that, and you can't prototype every bit of a game development document or a game design document. They're not that useful. Just give an overview of what you want. Have that idea in your head. Write down, a broad overview. Don't go ape shit on the documentation, because it will change more than your game. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy. For example, my landing mechanic in Rise of Piracy, you can take your ships into battle. You can drop anchor on them, and then tell them to deploy their crew to land, and they'll go in on these little landing boats. That system has gone through at least 8 or 9, maybe even more. Honestly, I'm probably not thinking of all of them. 8 or 9 complete redesigns. Like, it used to be a flipping 5 or 6 stage process with buttons down the bottom of the screen. Then it was it eventually ended up being a hovering UI above the screen, and I don't like it, but it's an insanely difficult thing to teach the player how to do, unless it's something like that. And the landing zones and stuff like that, even selecting the landing zone, that used to be you hold T and then click on the beach, and it would send these ships, which was great, but difficult.
Sure.
Like, you have to park your ships perfectly and all this kind of stuff. There's no RTS back in the day either. That was a Gen 3 thing. So yeah, a lot to it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Does anyone have any more questions for Jern? Otherwise, I think we will let Jern go. So Jern, the tradition with all these things. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us and telling us a little bit about yourself.
Sure thing.
It's been super interesting. I'm super proud of you as well. I'm really pleased that you got Micro Pros. That's an awesome achievement. I enjoy your streams, and I'm really glad that we got to become friends through Twitch, and that we got to meet you this year. That was really
likewise.
Awesome.
Absolutely.
And but the tradition with these little interview things is that you get to decide where we raid. So
I think Finite's on.
And just a quick update for chat. Ninja Gloppy says that Starship update, SpaceX employees spotted taking the flight termination explosives to the pad. Very good indication of a launch next week. So we might be getting a big SpaceX rocket next week.
Ooh, very cool. Right, so I have a couple of choices for you. I have Mark, aka Finite. I got JD. I got Tim Bodette. And I got Carlo, if you like. Oh my word, Thor has 2.1k. What happened? Oh my word. So yeah, there you go. There's the top 4 in the list. If I scroll down, I'll get more. Oh, there's us, and it has my thing next to your thing.
Yeah, your thing is next to my thing. I don't think we can catch anything with our things so close together.
True.
Chat. So let's raid. Well, since Finite is going to be on next week, why don't we raid Finite?
Yeah, sounds good.
If I can type, which is not a guarantee. And if I can spell singularity. There you go. So we're going to raid Finite Singularity. Guys, thanks for being here. Thanks for the biddies, the subs, the hype train. Thank you so much to John for coming on and chatting with us. I'm sorry for the time zone confusion and the delay. I'm never converting times for anybody again. I'm just going to give it to you in PST and you all can figure it out in the future. But yeah, thanks for being here, guys. I'll be back Sunday. Don't forget we have the charity stream on Sunday. John will be back to play some games. We'll be starting at 10 a.m. PST Sunday. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
And it'll be Games for Love. It'll be Games for Love is the charity that we're supporting. At least that's what I'll be doing, John. I'm not sure if you're going to have your own or...
Yeah, I'll do whatever your one is doing. Cool. Same as last time.
All right, guys. We're off. You can use these emotes. And say hi to Finite. Enjoy your day, guys. I'll see you all on Sunday. Take care. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.